Okay, everyone. Hello and welcome along to another episode of Championship Drill. Myself, Steve, joined as always by Phil. Missed last week as myself and Phil were both away filming for a few days long 12, 13, 14, 15, 17 hour days, whatever they were.
In
Very long
total, it
days.
was like 60 something hours. It felt like
Um,
it anyway.
yeah, it sure did. But a good film hopefully coming out at the end of that.
Yeah.
But that aside, we got to get back to normal this weekend and watch some championship football. As we're recording this, the game between Blackburn and Watford has just finished. So, in terms of news and everything like that, that's kind of where we're at.
Mm.
So, we might as well, I suppose, start with some of the transfers.
Yeah.
Quite a few since we were last here. We're not going to go through them all because it's,
No, we'll go through the high profile ones. Um,
yeah, I mean, it would be absolutely pointless to go through them all.
yeah.
Um, that's there's quite a few of them that have been done. I suppose I one Nate, there's Luke chiming in.
Mm.
I suppose one of the big ones out was Tella leaving Southampton, going to Bayern Leverkusen.
Yeah.
And I suppose what's great about that is as a young kid, Tella was released by Arsenal. He's one of these stories of being told at a young age you're not going to be good enough and you're not going to make it, but to turn around and eventually get to Southampton and now moving over to the Bundesliga. A great story for any young kid out there who's ever thought about giving up because somebody told them they weren't good enough, to just keep at it and you never know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
huge move for him. Bit of a loss for Southampton, but as we go through the transfers, they brought in a couple of interesting players.
Yeah. They have. They're also Mason Holgate has gone to Southampton.
Yeah, I mean Holgate's gone. 26 now, good age for centre back.
Yeah. He's
Uh,
he's decent. It's just he's not at Premier League level.
yeah, yeah, and I think he could do well for them in the Championship. Ryan Fraser as well, only 29, Scottish international.
Yeah.
Um, very, very talented, has joined them as well from Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I assume Fraser is going to be the kind of the player they bring in to replace Tella. Good signing, I think.
Good
I
bit
think
of
they've done
business. Yeah.
well there.
Yeah. How much did they get for Tella?
I'm not sure. It's undisclosed at the minute, but it's I suppose a bit of research. We'd be able to find out roughly what it
Oh no, I'm
is.
only asking because I'm assuming Ryan Fraser wouldn't cost a lot either.
No, no.
Uh,
It's supposed to be around. I've got to do some conversion here because it was reported in dollars, about $25 million. So, around 23 million euros, and whatever that would be
okay.
in pounds,
Not bad.
18 million maybe, something like that.
Yeah, very good deal. Great deal from.
Somewhere along there. Other players that have kind of come into the championship, Buderberger, the Dutch player joined Stoke from FC Basel.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, Peoria has gone from Swansea, he's joining Leeds,
Yeah.
14 million. Leeds starting to spend some money finally.
Yeah. And he proved he was very good last season. He stood out.
Absolutely. Um, Blake Norton Coffey, or Coffey rather, interesting one going on loan to Millwall. He great season with Coventry last year in their push
Yeah. Yeah.
into the playoffs. Really, really good attacking right back.
Yeah.
Only 19. Don't know if he's going to have much of a future at Arsenal. But you never know. You never know. They think very, very highly of him. But
Yeah.
a chance for him here to do well with Millwall, and you know, who knows? Who knows what can happen for him because he had a good season last year.
Yeah.
Any other ones there that stand out for you? Brandon Williams,
Brandon
know from
Williams. Yeah.
United.
I think Ipswich because of the United connection. But it's a permanent move. It's not a loan. I think it's a loan and then obligation to buy. So
Yeah. So
still 22, but I think he's his own worst enemy. He's talented, but he's posting some stupid stuff online. He'd be posting himself with like option, was it?
yeah.
And nitro stuff that you laughing gas.
All right.
Does all that kind of immature stuff. So
Yeah.
he's talented, but he's a liability as well.
Yeah. Jay Stansfield, one we have to talk about just because we'll be talking about the game in a minute. Joined Birmingham from Fulham on Friday night and
Yeah.
had a bit of an impact in the game yesterday
Yeah.
already.
It's a good
off the
sign.
bench. So we'll talk about that when we come to that game
Um,
with Stansfield.
I suppose
Uh,
Tyler Adams left Leeds.
yeah, finally,
Yeah,
everybody kind of knew at that stage what his contract, buyout clause was. So it wasn't surprising that he was going to leave.
yeah,
Forshaw moving from Leeds to Norwich on
yeah.
a free transfer.
It's good.
Uh,
I
not
suppose
not a
that
whole lot else.
Scott, since the last time, because we missed the show last week, Scott left.
Yeah.
Bristol City.
Mm.
To go to Bournemouth. We were saying that it was going to happen. It was just
a matter of time.
Yeah. World Cup
Akun
player.
from the Turkish player has joined Leicester from Galatasaray.
Yeah.
And Andy Moran, who we know, Andy Moran, great player, came from Bray Wanderers in Ireland before he went over to Brighton. Only 19.
Yeah.
Moves to Blackburn Rovers. He came on today. His first touch of the ball, he should have probably scored, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But a very exciting young talent who played, for Bray Wanderers, their senior team when he was only 15. So a wonderful talent.
There's one there that stands out to me, Jordan Rhodes to Blackpool.
Jordan Rhodes dropping down to League One is kind of or not League One, dropping down, to League One.
League One. He's 33
Bit of a
now.
surprise. 33, yeah. A lot of goals in his career.
Yeah, I remember he was tipped to be the next Alan Shearer at one point.
Yeah.
He really, he's been with too many clubs.
Yeah, I suppose more Irish interest. You talk about Gardner Hickman, right back, who's gone from West Brom to join Bristol City. Obviously, he's Irish eligible. He can also play for England, of course.
Yeah.
But in terms of Irish interest, that's it. Not a lot else that stand out to me. I suppose an interesting one is Tim Krul leaving Norwich to join Luton.
Yeah.
35 now. Troy Deeney, I suppose, leaving Birmingham to go to Forest Green as a player coach. I believe he's gone. Forest Green to start his coaching career. Strange. Not a whole lot else really happening, you'd have to say, since we were last talking to people. Obviously, Jack Harrison, James Ward-Prowse, all those happened before our last show. Theo Walcott retiring, that's something as well that happened.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, obviously he's had such an amazing career. It's the injuries are hard on him because he is only 34. He still can do at this level. He still has a job.
Exactly. But his money's made. I mean, he literally broke on the scene as like a 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Going to the World Cup at 17 when he hadn't even kicked the football for Arsenal at that stage.
Yeah.
Was kind of a bit mad, and immediately his stock was up. But that was an interesting one. Another Arsenal player, Alex Runnerson, has gone to Cardiff, the Icelandic goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Never really did it at Arsenal. Absolutely terrible at playing out with his feet, but a decent shot stopper nonetheless. Like you said, Tyler Adams is gone. I suppose the other one we knew was happening that happened was Romeo Lavia, because we knew he was going to leave Southampton, but at the time I think it seemed like he was going to Liverpool, but he ultimately obviously ended up going to Chelsea. Handy amount of cash in the back pocket now for Southampton. So can you see the likes of Southampton, the likes of Leeds, the likes of those teams that have a bit of money now investing it the last week of the window?
I think Southampton are waiting to see. They definitely are going to sign some more players. Without a doubt. Just going on to Middlesbrough. Chukbak is gone finally.
He is gone. We were talking about that the last day, that there was a deal in place for Ajax, even though nobody else was really talking about it much at the time. But he did leave. Again, a guy that's been around so many clubs. I mean, I wouldn't even count him, but I guess he must be close to a dozen different clubs at this stage when you include loan moves.
Yeah. They have a replacement. They bought a replacement for Emmanuel Lat. I don't know much about him.
Can't say I know much about the guy, so we'll have to wait and see.
5 million euros.
Oh, I'm gonna say he's 40 goal a season, man. So
he's 24. It's not a good age.
Good age, yeah.
Hard to know. Like, you don't know with the championship. Like, you don't know.
You really don't know what's gonna happen. No. Yeah. Southampton obviously got Flynn Downs as well from West Ham, a player that's really never cut the mustard at West Ham. So 24, it's time for him to step up as well.
So I
He's
think
going to come into that age. But going back to Akpom, because we talked about him a little bit last time.
Yeah.
It's great to see a player like that who he was at Arsenal in his youth career and was highly touted, went on a number of loan moves, some better than others, never really broke into the Arsenal team, ended up travelling club to club to club to club, kind of all over Europe in some ways.
Yeah.
Comes to Middlesbrough, has a great season, and now finds himself at one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's another great story. And it just goes to show that how big a league as well the Championship is, that the likes of Ajax are willing to spend money to bring him in to replace Tadic, essentially, I imagine.
Yeah. He's been with 10 clubs.
Yeah. Let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if it had been close to the 12, all right. But it shows that even the likes of Ajax, Champions League, most seasons, they're not this year, but that a club like that, one of the big European clubs, are willing to take players from the Championship. And we saw it obviously with Tele going to Leverkusen as well. So it is a big league for some of these players, especially some of these guys, like we said, who were 24, 25, that have never really made it at the Premier League clubs, that have now dropped down a division. It really is a chance for them to show what they can do.
Yeah. Without a doubt. It's good.
Big seasons ahead for them. Any more on the out transfers?
Jack Harrison went to Everton.
Yeah.
Nothing else really stands out because we've talked about it all before with like Charlie Patino moved.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at now. So again, it's a good Patino was a good signing for Swansea because, as you know, at Arsenal.
I mean, we talked about him winning into Blackpool last season. It's a strange one. Because what I hear from Arsenal, obviously people will know I'm an Arsenal fan. He had a full season essentially at Blackpool last year, came back to Arsenal, and the talk from him was he wants to play every week.
Yeah.
And he wanted to leave Arsenal.
Yeah.
To play every week. Now, Mikel Arteta sat him down, had words with him. He's actually signed a new contract at Arsenal, apparently, or has one agreed upon. And the talk is he's going to go out and loan this season, and next season he's going to have a chance to win a place in that Arsenal midfield.
Yeah.
Possibly.
He's talented. He is talented.
Absolutely. I mean, the people who look at the youth system, you think of the players that have come through the Arsenal youth system in the last number of years, I suppose, Saka being the prime example of top talent. You think of, Jack Wilshere, you think of all those kind of players that came through, Paul Merson, Tony Adams, if you're going back a bit, David Rocastle. To a lot of people who've worked in the Arsenal Academy, Charlie Patino, a lot of them have said is the greatest talent they've ever produced. He needs to bulk up a little. He's still kind of small, but as we talk about Swansea game in a minute, he got an assist yesterday. So a decent start for him. And I think Swansea's not a bad club for him to go to, because they're another club like Blackpool that are not going to really be challenging to win the league or anything like that. Not that they couldn't push for the playoffs, but it's going to be hard games that he's in every week, which is kind of what you need as a youngster.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll build him up a little bit. We saw what happened with Smith Rowe, another one who, when he was at Huddersfield battling relegation, it really served him really, really well. So that would be the hope. Will we move along to some of the games and start, I suppose, a Friday night?
Yeah.
One of the teams I suppose we figured would do pretty well this season were Hull City.
Yeah.
Which I suppose may have surprised a lot of people when we said Hull would do well, but Hull have, I think Hull have signed well.
Yeah.
A team I didn't expect to get off to such a decent start, and it's it's an okay start. 5 points from 4 games was Bristol City, but they were one of those teams we weren't really sure what was going to happen with.
Yeah. We were saying like that they're just so unpredictable. In every game, like they could draw 0-0 one week and lose 6-0 the next week.
Absolutely,
it's just there.
And we were talking. Two of the players I suppose that we thought could do well for Hull this season was Tufan and young Liam Delap as well. Irish interest, obviously, in Liam Delap, another player who could play for both Ireland and England as well. Obviously, his dad Rory played for Ireland. And Stoke. But Tufan 4 goals in his first 5 games, and Delap with another assist. And that's got to be 3 or 4 goal involvements for him as well.
Yeah, I'm delighted. I think we need somebody like the creator in the Irish side.
Yeah.
Hopefully now it'll progress, because we've always said he had the quality. He was always like he is. I'd say give it a year or two, he'll be in the Manchester City side.
Yeah, I mean he is good. Obviously, he's on loan from Man City, like you say, and they think very highly of him.
Yeah.
Aaron Connolly had a great chance in this one to get another goal. He's also off to a very good start this season, and despite the iffy haircut. Bristol City though snatch a point. Wells with the equaliser. Probably, I'd say Hull probably shaded it from what I saw of it.
Yeah.
But I can't say a draw was a horrific injustice either. Bristol City also had their chances.
I think either side could have won it, but a draw is probably, I don't know. It's Hull City might be just, as you said.
I think Bristol City had a period where they should have scored more goals and didn't. But I think Hull probably had the better of the chances.
Yeah.
Thinking of the Connolly one that was missed. But point each, both teams, relatively good start season. Hull on 7 points after 4 games, and Bristol City on 5 after 4 games. Solid starts for both teams. And I think both teams should be fine if they keep this up this season.
Yeah, I can't see both. Like they won't. I don't think both will chance for anything. They won't go down either.
And I think that's where Hull are. They're kind of, if Hull could finish in the top, you'd say 12.
Yeah.
If they could finish around there, I think that'd be a decent season for them.
Yeah.
And look to push on again next season. But you never know. There's always a team that surprises us. Obviously, Luton, before they went up, were probably touted for relegation. But they had a couple of seasons there where they just steadied themselves and then had a real push for promotion and managed to get it obviously last season. So that kicked us off Friday night. It's great when there's Friday night games going on. And then we came to the Saturday games, and the last time we were on, there wasn't a lot of goals around. But one game where there was a ferocious number of goals around was the runaway leaders Ipswich finally losing a game. To Leeds United. And Leeds suddenly starting to look very, very good.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Sinisterra was, I'd say, near unplayable yesterday at times.
Yeah.
He got their 4th goal, but he was involved in so much. Ipswich didn't look like they could handle him.
Yeah, he really was quality. My thing about this game yesterday was some of the defending was comical.
It was awful. Was it Leeds' 3rd goal where the goalkeeper essentially just threw the ball at the Leeds player?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was
it was a save, but it looked like he got both hands on it, tried to catch it, and it just rolled out to the.
And there wasn't a lot of pace on it, to be fair. There wasn't.
No, there really wasn't. And I mean, we could have had a lot more goals in this, the way the defending was awful. I think Leeds obviously going to be happy with the win because, they haven't had a great start to the season.
No, they just need
their first win of the season, isn't it? 2 draws.
Yeah, they just need to get things rolling now at the moment. That's all.
Yeah. So they really needed that. I mean, 4-3, obviously, 2 late stoppage time goals. Well, 1 late in the first half, 1 late in the second half. For Ipswich Town. Who got off to a great start. I mean, they're 1-0 up after 7 minutes, thanks to an own goal. And 7 minutes later, they're 2-1 down. 5 minutes after that, they're 3-1 down. So crazy opening 20 minutes of this game.
And the own goal was quite funny. Again, the cross into the ball. You really, really have to be well aware. You can't just stick your leg out like the way he stuck his leg out.
No, you really can't. What about a player I want to ask you about? Because we see Leeds play this season, and the guy that's been there quite a while, and another former Arsenal man, long time ago, when he was the youth at Arsenal, is their captain Luke Ayling. He got an assist for the first goal yesterday. He scored the other week. With a great header back post. Under Farke, he seems to be playing a lot higher up the pitch. He seems to be given license to get forward more. That's been interesting to see.
I've always saw him as a sort of a boxy player, kind of holding This is an interesting formation to try out because he does have goals in him. He is good because we've seen it. We've seen patches in the Premier League where he's done it.
Yeah, and I mean, coming from right back, you don't always expect it. But again, if we go back to Norton Cruffy for Coventry last season, he was one of the real attacking weapons coming from right back.
Yeah.
And if you go back to even when Brentford were in the Championship and looking to go up, you had Henry who used to come charge forward from left back.
Yeah.
Fullbacks are very important in the Championship in terms of an attacking threat. And it's been interesting to see that he's allowed Ayling to push further up the pitch now. Maybe a lot of that too is to do that. The last couple of seasons in the Premier League, they've been struggling a bit, and he's probably had to defend more than attack, not so much by choice. But I think it's been an interesting one to see. And like you said, nobody's going to be happy with
some of the defending for
the goals.
But the other thing as well, Nanto's there. Nanto was playing.
Yeah.
I thought he would have left by now.
Yeah.
And want him.
What about Ginoto, who's back in the side? Got the goal that put them ahead, the second goal. Came back, apologized for refusing to play.
Yeah.
I suppose, is all forgiven. I mean, he refuses to play, he comes back inside. Obviously, the manager isn't going to play him if he hasn't.
The problem is he's such a talented young player.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave him out.
Yeah. A guy with maybe bad advisors around him or something like that. I mean, you're at Leeds United. I mean, you're young. Just get on with your football, and eventually.
I think in his own head, once Leeds got relegated, I think he was like, "Okay, I'm gone." Like he actually made that decision that when they got relegated, leaving.
Absolutely.
And now it's 4 days out, and he's still at Leeds.
Yeah, and I mean, he has to apologize, and maybe part of that apology as well comes from the fact that maybe his agent or whoever is his agent has gone on to him and said, "Look, there's nobody coming in for you."
Well, the thing is, like, if I was him, I wouldn't be going to Everton at the moment. There's a greater chance to come back up with Leeds.
Absolutely, you're much better playing Premier League football next season with Leeds than you're Everton.
Exactly.
Everton just they just look a shambles of the club altogether.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Leeds this season, because obviously, outside of Southampton, they're probably the favourites to come back up.
Yeah,
Leicester, so you would have thought anyway.
Yeah.
So it's wait and see, but a great game, lots of goals, horrible defending, I suppose, and a good place to start.
Yeah.
We move on, maybe just starting to go the others in order a little bit. Stansfield, we talked about, joined from Fulham. Birmingham, that is, he joined from Fulham on Friday night. Comes off the bench, gets a winner 5 minutes into stoppage time. Good to see Hogan scoring a goal again.
Yeah. That's really good. Birmingham are on such a high after their first game, they won every other game. Yeah,
I mean, and when you think about surprise packages, they've been very poor the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, they really have. But I was just going to say, what's going to happen now is the international break's coming. This is where
that's it. Is it 1 or 2 more games, something like that, before
one game left?
One more game. Yeah, and it is one of those, all right, where it's that's where teams have fallen down before.
Yeah,
and none more so than what happened to QPR after the World Cup last season, where I don't think they won another game for about 3.5 months.
Yeah, they're lucky they had such a good start. Otherwise, they would have been
absolutely.
But yeah. I always think the international break just kills the momentum.
Yeah, and like you said, they're unbeaten. 1 draw, 3. There's only 5 teams in the league that are unbeaten at the minute.
Yeah.
So it's been a really, really good start. John Eustace has done a decent job with them at the start of the season.
Yeah. Good to see. Like I really like Birmingham, and they've had this such a bad few years. With Lee Bowyer and all that kind of stuff, they were always down the bottom of the half. But this season, there's an optimism, and especially with the Brady stuff, there's even more optimism.
I think so, and I think it's a good sign too. The manager talked about it afterwards, about Stansfield joining them from Fulham, where there was apparently like half the championship were after him.
Yeah.
But he decided to go to Birmingham City. And obviously, you couldn't ask for more of a dream start, really, could you?
No. Brilliant.
And whenever Birmingham's done well as well, like you said, Hogan scores. I was surprised to read he hasn't scored since February.
Yeah, but he did have a few injuries. But I know what you mean. He'd all
Like
score
whatever they,
goal.
yeah. I mean, for them to have a very good season, Hogan's got to be getting 10, 12 goals at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah. But
So we'll wait
just
and
going
see.
on as well, like Plymouth had chances. This wasn't a one-way street.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Plymouth absolutely could have come into it, and obviously you're talking about a game that was decided 5 minutes into stoppage time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But again, it shows what can happen if you have a player of the quality of Stansfield, and Stansfield is a real quality player.
Yeah.
When you have those in your side, they can make a difference. But Plymouth, more the possession, more the shots on target. They've got to be really happy with how they've started the
They
season
did,
as
and as
well.
well, especially who they
I mean,
like.
4 points from.
Yeah, yeah. No, they were the same last weekend. So
I mean,
they really gave it a go.
Yeah, I mean, 4 points from 4 games. It's good to see they're kind of trying to play the same football that they had done.
Yeah.
Ryan Hardy, who again hadn't scored since February himself, gets their goal. Yeah, it's a hard one to know if Plymouth will be okay, because this often happens to teams. We see it a lot when they come up and they get off to a decent start. And you think, oh, they're going to be fine. But then it's when they hit that bad run of form, it's what can they do? And I suppose you had it a bit with Hull last year, where Hull found form at just the right time every now and then to just keep them away from that trouble. So it'll be interesting to see Plymouth. Do you think Plymouth will stay up this season?
They have enough, I think. I think it depends. I really want them to stay up. Yeah. But as you said, it just takes losing 10 games in a row around Christmas time. Yeah. And they're in real trouble.
And that's it too, isn't it, with the championship? The likes of, Norwich, your likes of, to some extent Watford, but also the teams that came down, the Leeds, Southampton, those kind of teams who have got the bigger squads. When the championship really starts kicking off and you're playing 3 games in a week, that's when those teams with the bigger squads really start to push on. And it's when the likes of the teams that just came up, or the likes of like Rotherham and teams like that don't have very big squads, that's when they really start to suffer.
Yeah. Sure. Well, hopefully we won't get any more Rotherham 4 games in hand.
No, we don't want any more of that. No more of that, please. Moving on to Cardiff, playing against a team that you feared for at the start of the season, Sheffield Wednesday, and they are in real trouble already, aren't they?
Yeah. To be fair to them now, yesterday they weren't that bad.
They weren't bad. I mean, they haven't really been bad in any of the games as such.
Yeah.
They've had spells in all the games where they've done well. Opening game against Southampton, all right, they should have lost that about 27-0. Yeah. But once they got back on level terms in that game, they gave it more of a go. Yeah. Another very, 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 very late goal.
Yeah. To be fair, it was a penalty.
Absolutely, it was a penalty. But 8 minutes into stoppage time, again, we got a winner. There's been so much of that. We're used to it kind of in the championship, but this season with the added time, it's getting really, really bad. O'Dowda, who we said needs to be a big season from, with the assist for the first goal, but he missed a great chance to make it 2-0.
Yeah, he really did. He should have buried that.
He really should have.
On another day, he is scoring it. It's just one of those things, I suppose.
Yeah, and like we said, for those players, it's a big season for someone like him, because we all remember him playing down Turner's Cross, which is the local football stadium here in Cork, when he was playing for the Irish team. I think it was like a friendly match, a warm up to one of the championships, and O'Dowda was playing that night, and he was like 17 or whatever he was, and it was just looked like he had such a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah,
and he's kind of shown it in patches. I know he's had a lot of injuries to deal with.
Yeah,
but he really needs to start showing some consistency now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Also, well, Ugbo.
Yeah.
Nice to see him score again.
Absolutely.
He's gigantic. We were saying the last time, he's just such a big man.
Yeah, huge. I mean, giant of a man.
Yeah. I know he should have scored. If he didn't score that, he'd be kicking himself. But these kind of things lead to confidence, and confidence leads to more goals. So we'll see what happens with him. But we were saying the last time, it's nice to have an Irish fella.
Absolutely, and there's been a lot of Irish strikers doing well in the championship to start off the season.
Yeah.
I mean, a good win for Cardiff, because I mean Cardiff are one of those teams that you fear for at the start of the season in some ways because they have a better squad than their performances showed last season. So
Yeah.
um, lucky to stay up, I think, last season. Really, they were so bad at times.
Yeah. I think the manager coming in helped the new manager coming in.
Yeah, and hopefully, Cardiff will stay in the division this season because it's going to be tough for a lot of teams. I think.
We'll talk about later about some of the teams down there with Sheffield Wednesday are so poor.
Some are awful. I suppose we go on to the most boring game of the weekend: Coventry and Sunderland.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Nil all.
Really wasn't great. I mean, both teams had chances to win it. Both teams. It's one of those where both teams will think we could have won that game. Both teams will think we could have lost that game.
Yeah.
So they'd probably take a nil all at the end of it.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly good at all. I didn't think there was much nil all there.
You worry a little bit about Coventry, and by that I mean I don't think they're going to go down.
Well, Gukres is an awful loss.
Massive.
Yeah.
They just don't look like scoring a goal. I mean, Godwin scored 3 to start this season. Obviously, he didn't score yesterday.
Yeah.
So he got off to a good goal scoring start for them, and maybe he's going to be one to take up the mantle. But they don't look like they have a striker like Gukres who's going to score goals for them.
Yeah. And they've lost Hamer as well. So they've lost 2 of their big focal points in the team. So I worry that they won't. I don't think they're going to get relegated, but I do worry that they won't live up to what they did last season.
Yeah, I mean they've had a couple of good seasons now back to back, so they'll be disappointed. I think if they don't make at least the playoffs this season, or at least give it a right go. 5 points from 4 games isn't a disastrous start by any means.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where 7 points would have been a better start.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see because you can fall behind, very early on in this, and even though there's plenty of time to catch up, there's already gaps start to develop. I mean, you think of West Brom and 7 are already 5 points behind the leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
So gaps open up quickly, especially from the leaders to the chasing pack in this division. So it's a big one, but not too much to say about the game really because there wasn't a whole lot.
I wasn't brilliant.
Yeah.
The next one
wasn't brilliant.
The next game.
Yeah, this is one of the teams I assume you're talking about in terms of who look absolutely awful.
Yeah, Huddersfield Norwich. The honeymoon period is over, without a doubt.
It absolutely is. You look at the stats of the game and you think Huddersfield should have won that. But the goals they let in were just...
Especially...
Norwich had 5 shots on target. Norwich had and 4 goals.
Was it the first one? Was abysmal.
Absolutely terrible.
I think Sargent, the first one it was the first one. It was where keeper hit it off when he was trying to clear it out.
Yeah.
Rowe scored again. That's 5 and 5.
5 and 5 for a guy that hadn't scored for Norwich before the start of the season.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how that happens.
Very weird because it's not like he hadn't played in the Championship before. It's not like, he had 4 substitute appearances when they were in the Premier League or something like that and didn't score. Is fair enough. But he played like 12 or 13 games last year for Norwich and didn't score.
Yeah. He's actually 4 goals in total for Norwich before it.
Yeah.
So it's mad.
Crazy.
It's mad. And he is only 20 as well.
Only 20 years old, starting to score the goals. Norwich starting to look like the Norwich we know in terms of the seasons they go up, where they just win games.
Yeah. But to be fair, they were helped yesterday. Yeah.
Huh?
They were helped yesterday. Like that shouldn't have been. That wasn't the 4-0 game.
Like you said, Sargent's goal where he just charged on the goalkeeper. But another goal counts for Sargent's goal, I suppose. He scored a few goals. Actually, Barnes has got a couple of goals to get the season.
That was a great signing. That one. That really was.
Yeah, Norwich are just scoring goals.
Yeah.
Adamaida getting a goal for them.
An assist and a goal yesterday.
Yeah, and an assist as well.
Yeah.
4 league games in, Norwich have scored 13 goals.
Yeah. They've always been like that in the Championship. They just always scored.
Yeah. Usually it was Pookie scoring all the goals, but they're spreading them around a bit, which is good to see.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I like their manager too. I like David Wagner. He is a good manager,
Yeah.
and I think he could do good things with Norwich. I think he was a sensible appointment.
See, the thing is, right now, do you get rid of Neil Warnock before the international break, because this isn't going to get better?
Yeah, but the thing
And
is,
and you know what? He should have just walked away when he had the chance and just keep them up.
yeah, I mean, you're talking about Neil Warnock as a guy who was in retirement
Yeah,
when he was approached to take over,
yeah,
and we all love Neil Warnock, and he is great entertainment.
yeah.
But yeah, the job he has ahead of him at Huddersfield is
And the thing is, they don't even have money to bring in any players.
Yeah, and they don't know, and it's like you think about, like I said, the goals they gave away were just it's gotta really annoy the manager.
Oh yeah, like for someone like himself, I'd say he was raging afterwards.
Yeah, and it's like, what can you do? Because you can prepare a team all week and you can set them out to do whatever, but if they're going to make individual errors, which happen in a game, fair enough. But it's like they're making 2 or 3 every match.
Yeah,
And that's a bit of a disaster. But look, it is what it is, I suppose. And good win for Norwich. They end the weekend in second place.
Yeah.
Huddersfield end the place second from bottom.
Yeah.
Other than Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield Wednesday still better off than they were this time. The last time they were in the championship, when they had that like 73-point deduction or whatever it was. So they're not, it's not doom and gloom yet for the teams who are in relegation, because it is pretty tight. Like one win and you could end up being like 14th in the table next weekend.
Yeah.
So, it's not that bad. 2 teams who are very hard to figure out early on are Millwall and Stoke City.
Yeah.
Stoke City seem to be doing what we know they're capable of. They can go out and beat somebody 4-0 and then they'll lose a game.
Yeah.
And
that's
it. 4 games in, 2 wins, 2 defeats.
Yeah.
Norwich scraping victory here. Stoke had all the possession.
Stoke should
Millwall
have
probably had the better chance.
Stoke should have equalised. There should have been a draw.
Yeah.
They had one chance where your man was clear through and he hit it over the bar that I probably would have scored.
Yeah. But Millwall and Stoke, 4 games in, both have 6 points.
Yeah.
Not badly placed in terms of pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But they'll be disappointed enough, I think, with their starts. They probably feel that they could have had another couple of points maybe here and there. But in terms of Rowett, Gary Rowett, great stat there in terms of, obviously he used to manage Stoke. He's managed a few different teams. He's only lost 3 of the 12 home league games with Millwall against teams he's previously managed. So he has a pretty decent record against his old clubs.
Good win, though.
Yeah, absolutely. A good win, and it's a very Millwall win, isn't it? It's very much a 1-0 at home for Millwall.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think Norton Cruffy is going to be a good signing for them. I think he's someone who can do well in that, because they do like to play with wing backs. Rowe does like to play with wing backs.
Yeah.
So I think it's Cruffy there. Stoke, I mean, it is what it is for them, I suppose.
Yeah.
They've got to improve a little bit more consistency if they want to push for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because they're starting to look a bit like Preston. And if we move on to Preston, they're suddenly not looking like Preston at all this season.
Yeah, it's mad. This would have been it all this time last season.
Absolutely. It's one of those games where either Preston lose or draw last season when they go 1-0 down.
Yeah.
Stoke very good in the first half. Or not Stoke, sorry, Swansea very good in the first half.
Yeah.
Probably deserved to be in front at halftime.
Yeah. I do like Harrison Ashby. He is not bad.
No, his first career goal, his first senior goal.
Yeah.
Who knows? He could go on a massive run now because the first one's out the way.
Yeah.
Hughes and Holmes then responding for Preston, who I thought they changed their shape at half time, going to a formation that's rarely used ever anymore, which is the 4-4-2. And they playing the 2 up front seemed to really cause problems for Swansea at times.
Yeah. just couldn't adapt to it. But the thing is, like again, I said nil all last season. They would never ever come back last season.
No, I mean, this is a game they lose 1-0 or might fluke a 1-1 draw with last minute penalty or something.
Exactly. But to win the
but
game, it's a big up.
yeah, I mean, 3 wins and a draw to start the season for Preston, and it's not looking like a Preston team we're used to seeing, because usually they'd be doing what Stoke do. They'd have won 2 and lost 2.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very much how Preston season goes.
Yeah.
They're just one of these teams that for the last few years anyway have been that kind of a team where, you know, they'll play 10 games, they'll win 4 of them, draw 2 of them, and lose 4 of them. They're that kind of a team, but it's refreshing to see.
Yeah, I think
Tino, like we talked about, set up the goal.
Yeah.
For Ashby. It's going to be exciting to see the two of them combine, I think.
Yeah. Again, it's going to take, I know, like, we won't really know where teams are until probably November.
It does take, you know, when they talk about in the Premier League, it taking, you know, 7-8 games before you see where teams are. It's about 12 games in the Championship, realistically, before you can see where the teams are. So, like you said, usually around November time is when you get a good idea of where teams are in the Championship.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see the likes of Leicester, Southampton, and Norwich starting to click a bit early.
Yeah.
And the likes of Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday really struggling. But
Yeah.
as for the other teams who are between all of them, it's very hard to know where they're at.
Yeah.
At the moment. So we'll wait and see, I suppose.
I suppose the next one is Rotherham.
Yeah, Rotherham, who've only got a point from their opening 4 games, but unluckily so, I think.
Well, yesterday they were very unlucky.
Yeah.
And
you didn't very good player, I think, in some respects. I know he's a player you like.
Yeah.
They're going to rely a lot on him getting goals, I think.
Yeah. The thing is, like, did you see their first goal? The handball.
Yeah.
To be fair, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, that didn't look like a handball, but I had to rewind it and have a look. He clearly handles it.
Yeah.
They were very unlucky, actually, to be fair to him.
Yeah.
They gave it a proper goal.
They were a goal disallowed as well.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, hard to know.
Yeah.
Marginal calls, one of those. It's always one of those where it's like, was he offside? And if he wasn't offside, was it a foul on the goal? Goalkeepers get way too much protection.
They really do. They really do.
But it's one of those where if it looks like a foul on the goalkeeper, 99 out of 100, the ref is going to give it as a foul on the goalkeeper. It just happens that way. Leicester, though, 4 wins from 4. The manager has to be delighted with how they're going.
Yeah, brilliant.
And
you see, McIntyre looked outstanding yesterday.
Yeah. It's been an interesting one for them. It really has. For Leicester City, it can be very tough to settle into the Championship.
Yeah.
But especially for a team like Leicester, who haven't been there in a while, but they seem to have done it pretty well. Winks as well yesterday. You know, he's going to be a good signing for them. Like you said, McIntyre was very, very good.
Yeah.
Inacho still there, obviously.
Yeah.
And Jamie Vardy is obviously still floating about. Hasn't really scored anything. You know, Nasser Chandri and them. Leicester, don't know, are they going to sign somebody before the window shuts?
I don't think they need to.
Yeah.
I think it's more outgoings, I'd say.
Yeah.
I really think the Iheanacho could leave.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It's a strange one.
They're the only team with a perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4-4.
4 wins out of 4. The first time Leicester have ever done it, you said.
Yeah. Well, they're the only team with it.
Oh yeah, but I think it's the first time Leicester have ever done that, including the year they came up with 102 points or whatever it was.
Nice.
Under Nigel Pearson. I think they won 3 and drew 1 that season.
Their manager trained under the Pep Guardiola, so it's sort of he's coming a lot of Pep traits, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be very, very good. McIntyre, obviously, like I said, very, very good yesterday with 2 goals. His first 2 goals.
Yeah.
Of his career, and he looks a talent. Like he really
came through
does.
their academy as well, like so.
Yeah.
It's nice to
Um,
see academy players do well. I think it's brilliant when academy players do
it
well.
really is, and obviously he had a decent loan spell at Wimbledon last year as well, where he got
Yeah,
some goals. But his first goals for Leicester City is what I mean, not his first goals of
yeah,
his career.
yeah,
But like I said, it's great, and the fans love an academy player coming through and getting goals, don't they?
yeah.
I mean, fans, I'm sure, love an academy player coming through and playing in goal or as a centre back as well. But there's nothing like an academy player who scores goals.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one that I think they're going to be happy enough with. Southampton, who have got off to this weird start and that they're doing really well, but they're almost doing it in a classic Norwich City promotion kind of way, and that they're just
Yeah.
about winning games by the odd goal.
Yeah. And again, QPR weren't terrible yesterday. They had chances. They really had chances.
Yeah. And they've looked better recently, but they still have only one win from 4 games.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have them at the bottom. But I mean, they will be in trouble if that's all they get for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Is one win every 4 games.
Yeah.
But we know Adam Armstrong can score.
Yeah.
In this division,
in the championship. Yeah, he's brilliant.
He really is. And Samidozi, his first goal for the club as well. A lot of first goals for the clubs yesterday.
Yeah.
Dozi's first for the club. He's only played 28 games. It's not like he's, we're not talking John Jensen 120 whatever games before he scored. Yeah, 28 games for him to get a goal. It's not too bad. And he looks good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Fraser should have probably had a goal. He said he just moved from Newcastle.
Yeah.
Very
close. Yeah. I think they were too.
Begovic shoots. Yeah.
Begovic.
Yeah, Begovic on goal for QPR, which is still strange to say.
Yeah.
Ainsworth basically saying that a £15 million striker was the difference today. Talking obviously about Adam Armstrong.
Yeah.
And like we've said earlier with Stansfield, having a player like that who has that quality, that can win a lot of games in the championship in these close matches.
And
you see a lot of wasteful chances, like you said, a lot of ones where you said you'd put them away. And there's a lot of bad chances missed sometimes at this level as well.
And they have two of them with Che Adams and Armstrong. So
yeah,
if one of them doesn't do the business, another one will, as proved last week when Che Adams got the 2-1 win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Southampton will be definitely thereabouts.
Well, is Adams going to stay? Do you think? I know he's linked with moves away.
It's very difficult because I thought to go to Everton, but Everton are moving on to another player. So
yeah, it's a strange one. Like, will he still be there at the end? I think. I don't know.
I think he might.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
I think he will. I think he
might stay there.
I don't see the point of him going to like a Luton Town. You know what I mean? It would make no sense.
No, I mean he's got to look at Southampton and think, look, good chance we're going to go up here.
Yeah, exactly.
This season.
And if I go to Luton,
if I'm going to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about because we weren't with the show last week though was the there was a question before the Southampton game last weekend. Russell Martin talked about obviously the Irish goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu, and they were talking about him. And the question was, essentially, should you drop him? That he's not being great. And Russell Martin, shades of when Frank Lampard, or not when what's his name, Harry Redknapp was asked about Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
Similar kind of a thing, and he spoke up about how great Frank Lampard was and how great he was going to be.
Yeah.
Essentially the same thing from Russell Martin, really standing up for his goalkeeper and talking about how good he is at the age he is, and that they're lucky to have him.
Yeah, exactly. Every player makes mistakes. It's keepers are always scrutinized more.
They are, and he's only 20 years old. He's a full international with Ireland.
Yeah.
There's not too many clubs have a goalkeeper that quality floating with.
Yeah.
The likes of Southampton, the likes of Leeds, the likes of Leicester City, those kind of clubs, they're going to be pretty happy, I think, when the transfer window closes, because until then, there's always a danger their players are going to be gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't know if the Saudi Arabian teams might look for championship players. I don't know.
Yeah, it would
That's
depend possibly on the player, but
that's open
you're
late.
talking about that window being open for 2 more weeks after
Yeah,
the
exactly.
English one shuts.
Yeah,
But it's going to be an interesting final week to the season to see what those clubs bring in as well.
yeah,
Especially like the Southampton, who, when you think of, in selling Ward-Prowse and selling Lavia, in selling Tella, I mean, they've got to have the better part of 100 million in their back
yeah.
pocket.
They do. Yeah, I think they have more than that. I say they have about 130.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to look to bring in 1 or 2 players,
They should
but
bring in.
you've got to bring in the right players as well.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be sensible and look for people who have done it maybe in the championship before, that know the division, rather than just going out and buying maybe, a guy that's played like 20 times for Man United but isn't getting a game there. Rather than spending money on that kind of a guy. Maybe look to the league itself and look to, who's done well in this league, and, give one of those clubs in the division some money to take one of their stars away from them. I'm not sure who exactly they could get, but
I know what you mean. It's like Leeds buying Pero, like
that kind of a thing. I'm not sure Preston would sell him, but the likes of Alan Brown at Preston, that kind of a player, who knows the division inside out, might be kind of an ideal replacement for someone like James Ward-Prowse if you're Southampton. Sorry to any Preston fans there. That probably obviously don't want to lose their captain, but that's the kind of player I'd be looking at rather than.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Rather than looking for the guy who's played a handful of times but is with a top Premier League club.
Yeah. Exactly.
So one last game is, and again, apologies to Middlesbrough fans because I told them it would happen if I tipped them to do well, that they'd get relegated. I don't think they're going to be relegated, but they've certainly not got off to a good start.
Yeah, they could use the international break. They need it.
Absolutely. Some Irish interest in this game as well, obviously, with a few different players. But Malumbi obviously had a good game for West Brom, set up one of the goals, is really, really gifted midfielder. Good start. People who listen regularly will know Phil's dad, the big West Brom fan. He must be pretty happy with how they've started the season. 7 points from 4 games.
Yeah, they usually start poorly anyway. They don't usually get off to.
They do, and they tend to go on a good run then,
but they scored 4.
Yeah. Corberan as well is a good manager, and I'm glad that they stuck with him. Because they didn't have the best of seasons last year.
No.
But I think they appreciate how good a manager this guy is, especially in the championship. Yeah. And they've won 12 of their 17 home games since he's taken over.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, the away fans must be there. If you include the 2 legs against Coventry in the playoffs, though, it's 9 games without a win for Middlesbrough.
Yeah, it's pretty poor.
Is the manager in danger?
I think so.
Even after
I genuinely
being manager of the season last year.
I think what's going to happen is they'll go when they come back from the international break and they don't start winning. I think he'll be in trouble.
I mean, it's 9 games without a win. I mean, if that starts getting to 12, 13, 14, 15 games without a win.
Yeah, they look too easy to beat. It's like they're defeated before they even come out to play the games.
Yeah.
It's very tough. Like, I like Middlesbrough and I like Michael Carrick, obviously, but like I just think it's very difficult. I think they need that break.
They do, and Carrick is a very positive person. I mean, he's not going to be defeated by this. I mean, he took over last season. They were in a worse spot than they're in now, so he knows they're capable of turning it around.
They lost their first 6 or something last season.
And I mean, okay, it's not a win in 9, but like you said, it's going to be important that they get that first win as soon as possible.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if they could do it before the international break, and then, like you said, that bit of confidence going into the international break can be really, really important for teams. So, speaking of that, we might as well have a look ahead to the fixtures that are coming up. I don't think there's any breaking news in the championship at the minute. I suppose one game we have to talk about still as well was the one that we just finished watching.
Yeah,
which was Blackburn, I suppose, and Watford.
Watford,
Um,
you're out.
yeah, manager sacked. Would you
Yeah.
say he's gone? 4 points from 4 games. Manager's got to go.
Yeah.
Um,
To be fair, they were all over him, really.
I kind of they were. I mean, I'm kind of half joking. The manager's got to go, but it's Watford, so you
Yeah,
just don't know.
yeah. No, to be fair, they had a lot of chances. Blackburn did score, as you said, they did score. You said that in the group
Yeah,
we were talking about it. The goal was very, very good from Hedges.
it's a great goal. I love seeing that the player kind of lift the ball, juggle it a few times, and smash it in from a really tight angle. I think the goalkeeper is going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't be beaten at the near post from
No.
that angle. I mean, literally, if he stands at the near post and just stands there, the ball hits him in the face.
Yeah.
I think he's not going to be there.
Disappointing
I think
result from
Watford,
them. Yeah,
like you said,
disappointing.
disappointing result, but a good performance.
Yeah, but that's not good enough.
It was kind of a snatch and grab, I suppose, for Blackburn.
Yeah.
Was it 3 times? I think Watford hit the bar today, or hit the woodwork.
They have a chance. Yeah.
You know,
Blackburn are
Andy Moran.
Blackburn are
What's that,
dogged.
Phil?
No, I said Blackburn are dogged. They really
Yeah.
fight for the results.
Absolutely. And they're a team that didn't get off to the best to start the season, but have started to come good again.
You were saying Andy Moran?
Andy Moran, yeah, again, we talked about him a little earlier. Great chance when he first came on. He was played through his first touch, kind of side-footed it when he probably should have put his laces through it, or even taken a touch and then tried to curl it.
Yeah.
He's going to be a great player to watch. Dolan's another player who I know we both like, and they were talking about him before the game. He needs to step up this season. I think he had like 10 goal involvements last. It was like 4 goals and 6 assists or something. He's better than that.
Yeah, he really is.
I do think it's going to be a big season for him as well.
Where Watford coming in the league? 15th.
They're 15th, 4 points from 4 games. After winning the opening game, they've had 1 point from 3.
Yeah.
Now, based on what usually happens to Watford, they don't win their next game, the manager is going to be sacked before the international break. Yeah. Because that's just the way that Watford seems to work. But if I was a Watford fan, I'd look at that one today and I think, those games just happen.
Yeah.
They play that game the exact same way another 5 times and Watford win it every other time.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, I think Blackburn are stubborn and hard to beat.
They are. What's worrying for Watford, though, is they're not scoring goals anymore.
Yeah.
They've scored 4 goals this season, and they all came in the first half against QPR in the opening day of the season. They haven't scored since.
Yeah, that is worrying. That's got to change immediately.
Absolutely, they've got to start scoring goals, because if they don't score goals in this...
The next game is the cup game. I don't know if they're eliminated or not. I think they don't today.
Yeah, but they've got to start scoring in the league.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They'll have to start scoring in the league. It's just the long and the short of it. So we may as well have a look ahead to the fixtures that are coming up.
It's the EFL Cup at this Tuesday night.
EFL Cup on Tuesday and Wednesday. Full round of fixtures next Saturday. No Sunday games before the international break, and no Friday night game before the international break. A couple of, more than a couple, 3 lunchtime kickoffs next Saturday. Birmingham City off to a good start against Millwall. An interesting game, I suppose. We'll see how good Birmingham are in that one.
Yeah.
Sunderland home to Southampton. Southampton flying at Sunderland team that are kind of not living up to potential, but you kind of figured that might happen this season as well.
Yeah. Don't have a score at that. Dallow's a huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, home in a lunchtime kickoff, Southampton have a long way to travel. And, you'd advantage Sunderland there in some ways, but Southampton have been good. Swansea home to Bristol City. Flip a coin on that one, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the match the Watford manager has to win or else he's going to be sacked is away to Coventry City, which is not an easy one.
No, not at all.
Ipswich home to Cardiff. Ipswich looking to get back on track in that one. Cardiff looking to build on their win at the weekend. It's going to be another tasty one. Leeds United against Sheffield Wednesday. It doesn't get any easier for Sheffield Wednesday, does it?
No, I think
As
again
it
that
starts, I mean, they could potentially be 5 games, 5 defeats going into the international break.
yeah.
Big test for Leicester. They're one of the first they've had this season, I suppose, home to Hull City. Hull have been going pretty well, like we said, not an easy team to beat. You know, you'd fancy Leicester at home, but it's not easy to win 5 out of 5 to start the season, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Middlesbrough QPR, Middlesbrough have to get a win. They really do.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Plymouth
You
home
really
to
do. It's going very
Plymouth,
hard because
Plymouth
QPR.
home to Black.
What's that?
Yeah, they've looked better the last few weeks. What about Plymouth and Blackburn? Plymouth at home.
I think they could beat them. Like they're on a run. They're hard to beat. It's both. I reckon it could be a draw. Actually, the more I think about
Yeah.
it.
Talk about games doesn't get much easier for Rotherham are at home to Norwich. You know, there's going to be a shock. There always is at the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't see it coming in that one though.
Yeah.
Stoke City against Preston. Stoke have lost their last game.
Normally I'd say nil all, but
yeah, 5-all.
yeah, 5-all.
Stoke are due a win because they lost their last one. That seems to be the way they're going. Stoke City are the new Preston, so we'll see how it goes. Big game though for Preston because if they could get a result there, even and have somewhere 8-10 points, whatever it might be, going into the international break, it'd be a good start for them to the season. But likewise, if Stoke win, 3 wins out of 5 isn't bad. West Brom will be looking to beat Huddersfield convincingly enough, I would imagine. Whether it'll happen or not, it's a different story. But it'd be nice. West Brom could find themselves in the playoffs if they win that one, going into the international break. Although in the playoffs after 5 games, when there's 41 still to play, is a long way to go still. But that's about it. Quick check of the news, I suppose, before we go. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't see
anything you've seen?
I just I'm looking forward to the EFL games because there's some crackers during the week.
Because there is. I suppose one of the things we didn't talk about in the Norwich game was Sargent's injury.
Oh yeah, he didn't particularly look good.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Maida is a good player. We know Adam Maida, obviously he's an Irish player. We know him pretty well. But 3 goals in 3 games for Sargent.
Yeah.
He's going to be a loss if he's out for long. It seems to be a bad ankle injury.
Yeah.
But then again, Adam Maida, like I said, came on for him, scored one, set one up. Big chance for Ida. He hasn't had too many because he's had Sargent ahead of him a little bit, and he obviously had Pookie ahead of him for a while. This is his chance if Sargent is going to be out for a little bit to show, look, this is what I can do, and nail his place down. So it's going to be a big one for Adam Ida, I think, over the next few weeks, and I every confident he can do pretty well. He's a very, very talented footballer. I suppose the next one we do will be the end of next week. I suppose after the games, transfer window will obviously be coming to close then as well. Yeah. When does the window shut?
It's the first or the second, but we can do a separate show on just transfers because I know we might just do that. We might just do that.
Yeah, you're gonna have a double check there where the transfer window closes. Just so we'll know when we might be back with a show. No, that's when it opens. Friday, September the 1st at 11 p.m. So just before the weekend game. So we might do a transfer special and have a look ahead then to any players that are brought into the championship where they'll be playing their first games as the weekend one.
Yeah.
So that's about it, I think, unless you have anything else to add, Phil.
I think all the stuff's done now. I think we just again looking forward to the EFL. It's a nice distraction for teams like Middlesbrough. The EFL.
It is, and obviously the Premier League clubs jump into it now as well. The ones that aren't in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's always a good week, a big week, and lots of penalty shootouts because that's the way it goes now. It would seem. It's always a fun 2 days, isn't it, when you get the goals coming along that way. All right, so will we leave it there?
Yeah.
All right, and we will be back with people again probably on Friday, sometime on Friday evening, maybe just after the window shuts.
Yeah.
Most likely. All right. So thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.